You live, Katie? You hear her, John, or no? You good? Yeah. Come on. You good?
All right, today I'm going to do a quick overview on the Redline SFR, which is the super fast refresh. So what it looks like. So if you're familiar with the Redline Firebase, it is similar in design. First I'm going to show you just how to put it on your tank and how to adjust it. Take your tank, same as most common regulators you've seen out there, or if you're a previous Firebase user, just screw the regulator on top of the tank. Red top, screw it in clockwise, you'll hear the air pressurize. There's something a little different about this already than the Firebase that I'll point out a little later. Plug it into your desired gun. So you've been shooting, you're at the field, yada yada, you're shooting too hot, you need to go down in PSI. Here's where it a little bit differs from the Firebase. On the Firebase, to go up in PSI, you would go counterclockwise on the adjustment. On the SFR, you go clockwise to go up, and you go counterclockwise to go down. So if we're shooting too hot, I'm at 120 right now, we need to go down in PSI. The adjustment hole, if you're familiar with the Firebase, very similar style fashion still. Now at this I'm going to go counterclockwise to go down. And nothing really moves, take a couple shots with your gun. There you go, we've gone down. So let's just say you chrono it again, and that's good for your FPS, you're good to go. So a way to drain it, similar to the Firebase, take your red cap, well, take your cap on the UFA, counterclockwise. Here you go, I can tell I can't turn much more. Take your gun again, and just shoot. Gun's depressurized. Or the actual regulator's depressurized, disconnect. Simply unscrew it. Now, let me just show you a couple points real quick that are a little different than it in the Firebase. Next step is you'd probably tournament lock it. So here's where it's a little bit different. The Firebase, I'm going to pull out just to show you. On a Firebase, what you would normally have is this end cap here, which normally you can just unscrew. And your adjustment's right there. So most fields or events, you'd run 3 zip ties. Everyone does it a little different, I understand that. But the most common way on the Firebase I'm just trying to rush through this little part here, just to give you the idea. Most common would be something like along the lines of this. Yes, we tighten them up, but essentially what it would do is stops you from making your adjustment, and then if someone wanted to call you out further, you can no longer unscrew that. So there's 3 zip ties used. With the SFR, the difference that I'm noticing, this is the way that I would tournament lock it. The end cap here where the adjustment is again, unscrews very easily, same concept as before. And I would take one, you feed it in through like so, come out the adjustment hole, I can screw it in. Tighten it back up. Take a second. Route it through. And tighten them both up. And effectively with 2 now, I've done the same thing as the Firebase. You've restricted access with Allen key, and you cannot unscrew that piece. So there's an added bonus, I guess for me at least. Remember, that's running Chronos is only 2 versus 3 zip ties. So something else that I wanted to point out between it and the Firebase. If you look at the UFA on the Firebase, the top of it, there was always, this is a Ninja one, but the other ones were the same too. At least there was an Allen screw at the top on both sides, kind of holding the knob to the stud. If you're curious why I have a Ninja one too, it's because I busted mine. Long story. So there's that. On this Redline one, there's no Allen keys or no Allen screws around this. Kind of convenient, I thought. I kind of liked it because on those I had to always Loctite those screws. Sometimes they came loose. So this it's just a cap. That's all it is. Cap. There's the plunger, and there's a little O-ring going around the top here. That still gives this knob very nice, firm adjustment. Just an added bonus that I personally enjoyed. I got some other key points to tell you, but first I'm gonna show you some chronos, show you the actual chrono results versus what the regulator's doing, because again, gauges are not always the most accurate thing. Some they look great and they're not doing great, and vice versa. So I'm going to show you an SMP at 50, 70, 90, and 120 psi, followed by a Daytona gun at 100 and 120. And then I'm also going to show you an SMP and a Daytona at some pressures with the tank below 1,000. I'll get into that a little bit afterwards. Now that you saw an SMP at 50 psi, here's 70 psi. Now that you saw an SMP at 70 psi, here's 90 psi. Now that you saw the SMP at 90 psi, here's 120 psi, but the tank is actually below 1,000 psi, and again, I'll get into that a little bit later. Now that you saw the SMP at 120 psi with the tank below 1,000 psi, here it is at 50 psi with the tank below 1,000 psi. Now that you've seen the SMP through various PSIs, here's a Daytona gun, my M4, that's at 100 PSI. Here's the same Daytona M4 at 120 psi. I also decided to run a Widebore Line, a same that's currently plugged into my Firebase at the current moment, provided by either Tony at T&K Guns, I'll give you a link in the description, or KP out of Advanced Airsoft in Hawaii. I decided to put that on a couple of the shots of the regulator, going through different guns and see what would happen. Not every gun I had increased FPS, but my Daytona Scar H actually went up like another 20 FPS, so I'm going to show you just a quick chrono of it. There we go. You were right. All right, you ready? Did you flip it over to the other side? Full auto burst. All right, so there's the Daytona gun chronoing. As you saw, the full auto is a little all over the place. Again, it was just because I was hitting the chrono, and the recoil is just making it a little more of a pain in the butt to control. That being said, I also did the 50 PSI and the 120 PSI tests with the tank below 1,000 PSI. I did that because the Redline SFR is a fully balanced regulator, meaning if you set this at 80 PSI, and that's what you're good at in the chrono, no matter if your tank pressure right now is at 4,500 PSI, 2,000, or even 500, this regulator will maintain the 80 PSI that you dialed in at from when the day started, or from whatever you dialed in at. So there's a couple of reasons that's good. One reason that's good is, for me at least, the first one is you don't got to adjust your hop. Something that I always experience, once the tank started dropping below 1,000, whatever I was playing with, I had to start adjusting the hop because the regulator was dropping pressure now, which effectively was changing my FPS. I was losing FPS, so I'd have to compensate with hop. Didn't have to do that when I played on single shot or full auto for the whole day, and I went through like 5 tanks, purposely ran them low to kill them and did some tests. Worked flawlessly at that. Second added bonus is, since I'm effectively running below 1,000 PSI on the tank and the regulator's doing fine and keeping my PSI consistent, I'm getting more shots per tank effectively. Could you throw whatever on there as far as my Firebase and whatnot and run it down past 1,000? Absolutely could. I'm not calling it efficiently because the gun didn't function the way it did when the tank pressure was higher. So that's 2 big added bonuses out of that for me, as it should be for you. And again, that's because the Redline SFR is a fully balanced regulator. It refreshes fantastic at 50 PSI all the way up to 120. So for your SMPs, your Polar Stars, you can run them the whole spectrum if you wanted to, and it refreshed like a champ, as you should have saw in the chrono videos I showed earlier. It did just fine at 100 and 120 PSI. My Daytona guns, it refreshed fine. So to me, it's kind of a one-stop for a regulator. I don't have to have multiple regulators for different guns. It ran both flawlessly, so I mean, no qualms there. I don't have to worry about, whatever some of you back in the day may have ran like an ARX for low PSI stuff or whatever the case may be, and ran your Firebase for higher PSI, whatever. It's a one-stop shop as far as that's concerned. Now with the maintaining its pressure, something I did notice, I'm not a Ninja spokesman here, but on the older pin valves, which I do have some still, the older tank pin valves, if you can see, that did not refresh and did not maintain its PSI as well as the ball valve style did. Now I'm going to assume that's why Ninja kind of went away from the old pin style and went to the ball valve. And to go on top of that, the Pro V2 ball valve performed absolutely the best. So if you're looking for another regulator, I'd look at the Pro V2 balls. Again, they all function just fine, but the pin valve was definitely I noticed was a little bit lacking just all around on every regulator that I had. Just a gee whiz. Everyone always goes to the gun being that's an issue, but check tank setups. On all the tests, what I did use was a 4500 Ninja Pro V2 non-SLP tank. That's what I used for all the tests. For the DGM4, just a standard DGM4 for any of the Daytona fans and what it was. Just a normal kit, nothing crazy about it. The SMP was an SMP Gen 1 in my Classic Army Scar H. And for the test I did with the Widebore Line attached to it, which gained FPS on this specific kit, was my Daytona Scar H. So, depending when you're watching this is supposed to be released middle to end of February. If you're looking to buy it without a line, it's going to be going for $115. With a line, it's going to be going for $145. Again, if you're looking for a Widebore line for Daytona fans or whatever, if you just want one, I'll put the links in the comments below or the description below. You can contact Tony at T&K Guns, or you can contact KP at Advanced Airsoft. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching.